I spent years helping my brother, giving him money, emotional support, and cleaning up his messes. But one night, he showed me just how little I meant to him. My name's James. I'm 28 years old, and I've always believed in the phrase, family comes first. Maybe it's because our mom raised us that way after our dad left. Or maybe I clung to it because it brought some comfort. Whatever the reason, for as long as I can remember, whenever my younger brother Sean broke something, figuratively or literally, I was always there, trying to fix it. Sean's 26 now. He's always had potential. When life's going well, he's the star. When it's not, he disappears. And I guess I was the fool who believed he'd eventually grow up, if I just kept showing him enough love and support. It started small. Hey man, I can't cover rent this month. That was his first message, just one text and a desperate phone call. His account was frozen, and he forgot about a charge on his card. I told myself it was only temporary. But that month dragged into a year, and the amounts got bigger. Still, I kept justifying it. Everyone struggles in their 20s, right? First it was $1,200 for his car, then $200 here, $600 there. Sean always looked thankful, eyes wide, promising it was the last time. I wanted to believe him. 3 days before New Year's Eve, he called again. I was in the grocery store, picking up snacks and drinks for a small get-together I'd planned. He sounded panicked, said his car had been repossessed once already and he was about to lose it again unless he paid $2,500 immediately. He cried, begged, said he was finally getting serious about life. Against all better judgment, I sent the money. I didn't tell anyone. A part of me was embarrassed at how easily I gave in. The truth is, people can hide their true colors for a while. But eventually, even the strongest illusions start to crack. On New Year's Eve, Sean told me he was heading to a party in a nearby town. I figured he'd drink too much, make promises he wouldn't remember, the usual. I stayed home with a few close friends. We played games, counted down to midnight, and ate way too much junk food. It was peaceful, something I hadn't felt in a long time. I even started to think maybe this year would be different. Maybe 2025 would be the year I didn't have to carry my brother anymore. Then I got a text. 7 words that cut deeper than anything he'd ever done. All you are is a burden. Avoid it. No apology. No explanation. Just that. I stared at my screen, thinking it had to be a mistake. Maybe he was drunk, or maybe he sent it to the wrong person. But the words didn't change. They stayed right there. Then the group chat lit up. A photo popped up of Sean at the party, raising a glass with his friends, grinning like he didn't have a care in the world. Someone captioned it, "Freedom from leeches." Knew you knew me. There he was, front and center, laughing like everything I'd done for him meant absolutely nothing. Like I meant nothing. I didn't reply. I didn't yell. I didn't call. I just sat there, letting the emptiness settle in. I smiled and told my friends I was just tired, but I think they saw through it. The quiet hope I'd held onto began to turn into something harder, sharper. I barely slept that night. I kept thinking about every time I saved him from the consequences he deserved. Every time he smiled, patted me on the back, and then went right back to his old ways. That's when it hit me. I wasn't helping him. I was enabling him. He didn't see me as a brother. To him, I was just someone to use, a wallet, a crutch. When morning came, I knew exactly what I had to do. I opened my laptop and pulled up the auto loan Sean begged me to co-sign. Sure enough, my name was still there. I was technically the primary owner. Sean never read the fine print. He just wanted to impress his friends with a shiny red Mustang. Then I checked my bank records, dozens of payments taken out while Sean was getting back on his feet. That temporary phase had turned permanent, and I had allowed it. Luckily, a repossession order was already set up due to his missed payments. In fact, he was already 2 days late again. All I had to do was make a call. By 8:30 a.m., I was parked across the street from a stranger's house where Sean had apparently passed out. I confirmed I was the legal owner, and the towing company said they'd expedite the pickup. I sipped my coffee and watched as the tow truck arrived at 9:45. His Mustang was still parked awkwardly, like he'd stumbled out of it the night before. Within minutes, it was hooked up and ready to go. The driver worked fast. Just as the truck started moving, I saw Sean's front door creak open. Hair messy, barefoot, shirtless, he stepped out blinking at the sunlight. He froze, trying to process what was happening, then yelled something I couldn't hear. He ran toward the street, but the truck didn't stop. As I rolled down my window, I saw my phone light up. It was him calling, then texting. "Where's my car, dude?" I let it go to voicemail. I leaned back in my seat, letting the sun warm my face. For once, I didn't feel like I was carrying someone else's weight. For the first time in years, I felt still. But I wasn't done yet. Taking the car was only the beginning. I sat there a little longer, not happy exactly, more like peaceful. Like standing in an open field after a wildfire, everything burned down, but finally clear. A new start. My hands stopped shaking. My heart wasn't racing. I wasn't scrambling to fix Sean's latest disaster. This time, I was letting it fall apart. The real storm hit when I got home. My phone blew up, 6 missed calls, then 12, then 19. First came the panic, then the anger. Then full-blown rage. "What did you do? Answer me. This isn't funny. I'm calling the cops." I laughed at that one. Let him try. The paperwork and title were in my name. Legally, I was within my rights. Sean had been using my car and not paying for it. But facts never stopped him before. By noon, he was pounding on my apartment door. I didn't respond. I just listened, his fists hitting the wood, yelling, "Open up," and, "You're ruining my life," while I sat down to eat. I was eating a sandwich at my kitchen table when I realized I could picture him perfectly. Sean, with bloodshot eyes and messy hair, pacing like a caged animal, blaming everyone but himself. He changed tactics when I didn't answer the door. An hour later, I noticed he had slipped a note underneath it. I didn't want to read it, but eventually I picked it up. One sentence was written in angry black marker: "You'll be sorry." That was so Sean, always threatening when he couldn't win. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling, letting the weight of years settle on me. Years of bending, of swallowing my anger and disappointment. Years of telling myself he would change if I just held on a little longer. That night, I ate instant noodles for dinner and thought about the times I paid his rent to keep him off the street. The time I sold my game console, my only real escape, just to pay his utility bill after he blew all his money at a casino. The birthday gifts he said were in the mail, that never showed up. The money he promised to repay next week, which always became next month, which always became never. And worst of all, I remembered his smile. That grin he wore when everything was going his way. That same smile he had in those party photos, the night he called me a burden and laughed like I was nothing. No, I didn't block his number. That would have been too easy. It felt better to ignore him, to let the silence speak for me. He could scream into the void while I finally lived in peace. The next day, I called the bank about the account I had stupidly left open for him. Big surprise, it was overdrawn again. I closed it during my lunch break. I also canceled the credit card he said he never used. Funny how it had $1,200 in charges, Uber Eats and bar tabs. I paid it off myself and cut that last rotten rope connecting us. But I wasn't done yet. Remember the $2,500 I wired him right before New Year's? The one where he texted that he'd pay me back? I filed a small claims lawsuit. Not because I wanted the money, deep down, I knew I'd never see it again. But I wanted a record. I wanted proof. I wanted him to see what a paper trail looked like when someone stopped cleaning up after him. After that, I became obsessed. I combed through every receipt, every text, every favor. It was like balancing a broken ledger after a year of emotional bankruptcy. I stayed up late, wondering if I had gone too far. Then I remember the look on his face, raising a glass to freedom from leeches. Toasting to being free of me. Let go of the guy who turned off your lights. Forget the person who filled your gas tank. Walk away from the brother who fought your battles because you were too lazy or weak to fight them yourself. He didn't want me? Fine. I was done. Then came the final piece. A letter. It was about his car insurance, the same policy I helped him get under my name. Because of non-payment, it had been cancelled. I knew Sean couldn't afford his own policy. I also knew he hadn't noticed yet. But he would. Because in our state, driving without insurance isn't just a slap on the wrist. You can get fined, lose your license, maybe worse, depending on the situation. I sat there, holding the envelope in my hands. No joy, no gloating, just relief. Relief that I wasn't carrying this anymore. 3 days later, his name lit up my phone again. I didn't answer. A text followed. I really need your help, bro. I flipped the phone over and went back to my coffee. A minute passed. Another message. I'm stuck, man. Please. No coverage. They're talking about towing again. I swear I'll pay you back. I nearly laughed. The irony was too perfect. There wasn't even a car to tow anymore. The Mustang had already been auctioned off 2 states away. And his license? That would be a mess, too, thanks to the unpaid infractions he racked up under my insurance. Then came one more text. Bro, please. I'm begging you. What I do matters now. That's when I realized it. The desperation was real this time. These weren't crocodile tears. This wasn't an act to get a few bucks. This was ugly, raw, real. I should have felt guilty. Maybe years ago, I would have. But now, I only felt a strange kind of peace. A heavy weight leaving my chest after years of being used, ignored, and tossed aside. Then came the voicemail. I didn't open it right away. I sat at the window instead, watching clouds drift across a quiet sky. When I finally pressed play, I heard a voice I barely recognized. Man, please, James. I mean it. I can't drive the car, they say they're gonna tow it. I got no one else. I promise I'll pay you back. Just one more time, please. I know I messed up. I know what I said was wrong. Don't leave me like this, please. I'm sorry. I had waited years to hear that apology. And it meant nothing. It wasn't real. It wasn't because he understood the damage. It was because he needed something, again. I didn't reply. I opened the app for my new bank account instead. Clean. Balanced. All mine. No more withdrawals. No more panic. No more Sean. Later that night, I checked his socials. He'd posted a blurry selfie from the side of the road, red and blue police lights flashing in the background. Some people only care when they want something. Better to have no family than fake family, he wrote. The comments were brutal. Party friends who didn't know the whole story chimed in with jokes or insults. A few mutual friends asked if he was okay. I said nothing. He was right about one thing. Fake family is worse. And I had been fake too, pretending this brotherhood still meant something when he made it clear it didn't. The next morning, sunlight poured through the blinds. No missed calls. No desperate messages. Just quiet, and for the first time in years, I felt light. I had just finished a sandwich at my kitchen table when I pictured him, Sean. Hairy, bloodshot eyes, pacing like a wild animal, blaming everyone but himself. When I didn't open the door, he changed tactics. I heard the rustle of paper sliding under it. Took me an hour to even look at it. All it said in furious black marker was, "You'll be sorry." That was Sean, always threatening when he couldn't win. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that led up to this. Years of bending, of swallowing disappointment and rage. I kept telling myself to hang on a little longer, that maybe he'd change. As I ate cheap ramen for dinner, I remembered the times I paid his rent to keep him from being evicted. He blew his money at the casino, so I sold my game console to pay his utility bill. The birthday gifts that never came. His promises to repay me, next week, that always turned into never. Worst of all, I remembered his smile, bright, charming, before he decided I was just a burden, a parasite. I didn't block his number. I didn't need to. Ignoring him was sweeter than any angry outburst. So I let him scream into the void while I lived my life. The next day, I called the bank about the joint account I'd left open for him. Big surprise, it was overdrawn. I closed it during my lunch break. Then I canceled the credit card he claimed he never used. He'd racked up $1,200 on food and drinks. I paid it off and cut every financial tie. It felt like slicing the final rotten rope off a sinking ship. Then came the last piece. just before New Year's. I'd wired him $2,500, which he had promised in writing to repay. So I filed a small claims lawsuit. Not because I expected the money back. I just wanted it documented. I wanted a paper trail. Something to follow him around, like the stench of his lies. Afterward, I went through every email, every favor, every receipt. It was exhausting, but also cleansing, like balancing an emotional ledger. Sometimes I wondered if I'd gone too far. But then I remembered that photo, Sean raising a glass, laughing with his friends, celebrating his freedom from me. He'd forgotten the man who left the lights on, who filled his tank, who fought his battles when he couldn't. I wasn't wanted, so I was done. A few days later, I got a letter about his car insurance. It was cancelled due to non-payment. We were still connected, and he didn't even realize it yet. Driving uninsured in our state isn't just risky, it's illegal. Fines, suspensions, real consequences. I just waited. It didn't take long. 3 days later, just before noon, I saw his name on my phone. I didn't answer, just watched it ring. The guilt that used to clench in my stomach had loosened. Then came the text. I really need your help, bro. I placed my phone face up and sipped my coffee. A minute later, I'm stuck, man. No coverage. They're talking about towing. I swear I'll pay you back. Please hurry. I nearly laughed. He didn't even know the car had been sold. It was already at auction in another state. His infractions under my insurance were still haunting his license. Another text. Bro, please. I'm begging you. This time, it wasn't manipulation. It was raw, real. He was drowning. A voicemail came through. I waited before listening. Outside, the clouds moved slowly. For once, I wasn't bracing for chaos. His voice was small, defeated. Please, James. I know I messed up. Don't leave me like this. I'm sorry. The apology I'd waited years for. But it meant nothing, not because I hated him, but because it wasn't real. He still needed something. That's why. I opened my new bank app. My account was untouched. Mine. It was proof. I had finally chosen myself. Later that night, I checked his social media. He posted a blurry selfie, angry, police lights in the background. The comments ranged from mocking to clueless sympathy. Some people only care when they need you, he wrote. Fake family. Betrayed by my own blood. He wasn't totally wrong. A fake family is better, less damaging. I was better off too. The next morning, sunlight came through the blinds. No missed calls. No panic. Just peace. I felt lighter than I had in years. I went for a walk in the cool January air. I wasn't waiting for the next explosion anymore. Fixing people who didn't want to be fixed. That chapter was closed. When I got home, there was one last message from Sean. I apologize. This time, I didn't even open it. Weeks passed. No texts. No visits. Maybe he finally understood, or maybe life just moved him along. I didn't chase him. Instead, I started chasing my own life. I hit the gym, reconnected with old friends, took on extra shifts, not for him, but for me. I had goals now. About 2 months after that insane New Year's, I ran into Nate, a mutual friend. We chatted over coffee, catching up. Then he asked, "Heard from your brother lately?" I shrugged. "Nope. He's not doing great," Nate said. "Lost his job. Behind on rent. Living with some girl." I didn't say anything. What was there to say? That was always where Sean was headed. I just delayed it by cleaning up his mess. "He's been telling everyone you left him homeless," Nate added. I just chuckled, not bitter, just tired. "Sounds about right. You're not mad?" "No," I said. "I'm just done." Later that night, I thought about how Sean twisted the truth, made himself the victim. But I didn't care what people thought anymore. The ones who mattered knew the truth. Spring came. The sky cleared. I'd go on long drives, no destination, just freedom. One day I stopped in a small town, wandered into a cozy bookshop, chatted with the owner, bought a few things. It was just a Saturday. But it felt like victory. Then, a letter came in the mail. Handwritten. From Sean. I nearly tossed it. But curiosity won. It was just 1 page. "James, you probably don't care anymore, and I wouldn't blame you. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was selfish. I used you because you're my brother, and I thought that's what brothers were for. But now I know how much I hurt you. I messed up. I ruined the only person who ever really tried to help me. I'm not asking you to believe I'll change. I just wanted you to know I'm thankful, even if I didn't show it then. Sean, it was the most honest thing he ever wrote. Maybe he meant it this time. But I didn't write back. Not out of hate, but understanding. Not every chapter needs a sequel. Some bridges stay burned, not out of anger, but because rebuilding them just leads back to pain. I folded the letter, tucked it into a drawer, and went on with my day. When summer arrived, with long, golden evenings, I realized something beautiful. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. And this time, I was only carrying my weight.